Step back in time with Dark Prehistoric Secrets. Before the rise of empires, before the forging of swords, even before the taming of fire itself, humanity discovered something that would change the world forever. It was not wisdom, it was not language, it was something far more dangerous, a weapon. What began as broken stones in trembling hands would one day shape entire civilizations, spark wars, and carve the dark story of violence into our very bones. These were not just tools for survival, they were the first murder weapons. Were they created to protect, or were they designed to destroy? Tonight, we uncover the chilling origins of humanity's first weapons, and the shadow they have cast over us for millions of years. Welcome to Dark Prehistoric Secrets. 2.5 million years ago, the world was nothing like the one we know today. Vast plains stretched endlessly beneath an untamed sky. Herds of animals thundered across open grasslands. Predators lurked in shadows, waiting for the slightest weakness. And among all this danger, humanity, fragile, small, and unarmed, clung desperately to survival. In that fragile beginning, our ancestors discovered something that would forever alter the course of history. It was not fire, it was not language, it was something far simpler and far deadlier. A weapon. At first glance, it seemed unimpressive. A sharp stone, broken from a larger rock, jagged at the edge, small enough to fit in a trembling hand. Yet within this simple object lay the first taste of power. A stone could cut deeper than nails or teeth, could strike with more force than flesh alone, and when sharpened, it could kill. For generations, scholars called these stones tools. Archaeologists gave them a name, the Oldowan tools. They appear, to our modern eyes, as nothing more than shattered rock fragments. Yet to Homo habilis, one of our earliest ancestors, these sharp-edged stones were life itself. With them, humans carved their first meals from animal carcasses. They skinned hides for warmth, split open bones to reach the precious marrow inside, and sliced meat that their blunt teeth could never tear. Every sharp edge was a lifeline. Every fragment meant survival. But hidden in the bones left behind is another story, one much darker. Not all bones belong to animals. Some belong to humans. Some bore marks that suggest more than just hunting. Could these stones, the first tools, also have been the first murder weapons? Were they used only to carve prey, or also to strike rivals? Here lies the terrible truth. The line between tool and weapon was as thin as the edge of stone itself. As time moved forward, hundreds of thousands of years passed, and with them came a leap in human invention. Humanity's creativity was restless, never content with mere stone. And so, from stone came wood. At a site in Germany called Schöningen, archaeologists made an extraordinary discovery. Wooden spears, preserved in the earth for over 400,000 years. These were no crude sticks. They were balanced, carved with care, shaped to fly true when thrown. Close your eyes and imagine the scene. A line of hunters waits in silence. Horses thunder across the plain, their hooves striking the earth like drums. The hunters raise their spears. Then, with a cry, they hurl them into the air. In that instant, death takes flight. This moment was revolutionary. For the first time, humans could kill at a distance. They no longer needed to risk their fragile bodies against the horns of a beast or the claws of a predator. Distance gave safety. Distance gave power. And yet the haunting question remained. Were these spears only for animals? Or were they sometimes aimed at each other? Time carried humans into yet another mastery. 1 million years ago, fire entered their hands. First, it was a gift. Flames meant warmth against the cold, light against the dark, safety against predators that stalked the night. Fire cooked food, making it easier to digest, fueling the brain that would carry humanity further than any other creature. But fire is never just gentle. Fire consumes. Fire destroys. With flames, humans could drive predators from their caves. They could burn grasslands to trap animals, bending entire landscapes to their will. For the first time, they controlled not just their tools, but the environment itself. And then came the darker uses. Torches raised not against beasts, but against enemies. shelters set ablaze, fear spreading faster than fire itself. Fire was more than survival. It was the first taste of psychological warfare, because in truth, the deadliest weapon humanity had ever created was not stone, nor wood, nor flame. It was fear itself. 300,000 years ago, humanity crossed yet another threshold. The spear evolved. It was no longer just a sharpened stick of wood. It became an engineered machine of death. A wooden shaft, a stone point sharpened to a deadly edge, resin and fiber binding the pieces together. This was precision. This was craftsmanship. This was design with a single purpose: to kill. With these spears, our ancestors could bring down giant animals that once seemed impossible to hunt. They had leveled the battlefield of nature itself. But the bones tell another story. Skeletons from this age bear deep puncture wounds, not on animals but on humans. These were not the accidental cuts of tools. They were deliberate. They were violence, recorded in bone. The spear had crossed the line. It was no longer only a hunting tool. It was now a weapon of war. 64,000 years ago, the most silent and deadly invention yet emerged: the bow and arrow. For the first time, humans could kill without even being seen. The bow meant distance, silence, and precision. It turned every hunter into a predator capable of striking from the shadows. At Sabudu Cave in Africa, archaeologists uncovered tiny, carefully crafted arrowheads, proof of this transformation. They were shaped with intent, designed to fly true and pierce deep. A single archer armed with these weapons could kill prey larger than himself. He could also strike down a rival before the rival even realized danger was near. The bow was more than a weapon. It was power, and power always changes history. 10,000 years ago, the Stone Age drew to a close. Humanity had already reshaped the world with stone, wood, and fire. But now something darker began: the first organized wars. At a site called Naderik in Kenya, archaeologists found a haunting scene preserved in the earth: a mass grave. Men, women, even children, their skulls crushed, their bones pierced with arrows. This was not a hunt. This was not a skirmish. It was slaughter. For the first time, humanity was not merely killing to eat or to protect or to compete. They were killing to annihilate entire communities. This was not survival. This was war. From sharp stones to spears, from fire to arrows, humanity had unlocked the most powerful force of all: organized violence. And once discovered, it could never be forgotten. Weapons defined who we became. They gave us food when hunger threatened. They gave us protection when predators circled. They gave us dominance over the wild world around us. But they also gave us something darker: fear, violence, and death. Every sword forged in ancient empires, every gun fired in modern battlefields, every bomb unleashed in our age, each one can trace its ancestry back to those trembling hands that first gripped a sharpened stone. The haunting truth is this: weapons did not merely shape our survival. They shaped us. They defined what it meant to be human. They carved fear into our history, alongside power, dominance, and destruction. From the very beginning, the story of humanity has been written in blood and stone. The moment we picked up the first weapon, the story of survival became also the story of conflict. But remember, this is only the beginning, because in our next episode, we turn not to humans, but to giants of another kind. Did you know this dinosaur could fly at night? The secrets of the prehistoric world are darker, stranger, and more haunting than you can imagine. Join us again only on Dark Prehistoric Secrets.